Trap for rats. Welcome, dear students. In this class, we shall be continuing with the second half of medulloblastoma from recent Advance 24. Thomas Jacks, Anthony S. Michali. Wonderful contributors, and we will be bewildered at the plethora of tumors staring at us. Still, these are golden words of Robbins. It is better to understand a little than to misunderstand a lot. First, we shall try to enlist the tumors that are included under this, and then we shall try to pick up the salient points of each. These are all the miscellaneous embryonal tumors in children within the brain. The list is given over here and we shall be covering them. Atypical rhabdoid tumor. In most of this, I find that the cells will be poorly differentiated or undifferentiated. In the sense, I cannot identify the cell of origin. That is the meaning of undifferentiated. Yet, they will be having rhabdoid features. Rhabdoid means you have the strap cells or the regular cells. Look at the eosinophilic cytoplasm over here that is pushing the nucleus towards the periphery, leading to an eccentric and a vesicular nucleus. In many a case, there are prominent eosinophilic nucleoli, which can be seen. And one look at it will say that it is a primitive neuroectodermal tissue. And hence the name ATRT. Atypical teratoid as well as rhabdoid tumor. Hence the name ATRT, it is important. Age. Most of these tumors are found in children, and you may be given such a history in your examination when such a slide is being given. 0 to 3 years or so. Since there are pressure effects, there can be paraplegia, there can be urinary retention. Also, there can be a history of convulsions. Rhabdoid cells which are positive for a number of markers are being given here. I would like you people to patiently go through the markers because my summary is much better than the pages that run in Ackermann, which has been quoted as a reference for you people. There is an inactivation of the SMARCB1 and there is an iron I1, a gene mapping that is found in this particular locus. Physically, you find there can be a compression of the ventricle or the aqueduct of Sylvius. On electron microscopy, I find that there can be a whorled appearance. These usually can be a mimic of the samoma, but it is not really so. These are intermediate filaments. But still, owing to this structure, the differential diagnosis will be a rhabdoid meningioma or a medulloblastoma. And the sites, please remember these sites. Even if you don't remember, certain things are very common. Cerebrum, cerebellum, brainstem, tentorium. And the mode of spread will be the CSF. And the second most common mode of spread will be by contiguum, in that the brain parenchyma itself will be involved. Two modes of spread, and these are the sites. ATRT. What is the microscopy that we people can see? It is given over here, and I'm finding beautiful butterfly-like cells that are having only the chromatin that is opened out. There is no nuclear membrane. The mitotic figures are there, and so many in one particular field. increased mitosis. This is one of the important parameters for a malignant, poorly differentiated tumor, increased mitosis. Another one is the high of cellularity. Look at this one. I cannot say what is the origin of these cells at all. It can be something like a small cell or a blastomal cell that you see in a Wilms tumor, etc. They are all primitive cells and they are dispersed in sheets. No particular pattern that can be seen. Cells are pleomorphic. Obviously, some are large, some are relatively small. And in some, I find that there is an eccentric nucleus with eosinophilic material filling in the cytoplasm, so-called rhabdoid cells. This is a typical pattern that we can see. This you can superimpose on any of the cells, any of the lesions. Another one is the embryonal tumor with multi-layered rosettes. So you find that there is an embryonal tumor with multi-layered tumor cells arranged in rosettes that we shall be seeing. And there are two important markers that you will have to always remember: C19MC and Lin28A. The features will be multi-layered rosettes, malignant primitive cells, and these two markers will be indicative. And the method by which we can identify will be the FISH fusion technology. Lin28 and the C19MC. Embryonal tumor with abundant neutrophil and true rosettes. Embryonal tumor, T for tumor, and then there is abundant neutrophil, it is not neutrophil, and true rosettes. What is a true rosette? What is a false rosette? Whenever a rosette is formed around an imaginary space, it is called a true rosette. Whereas when it is formed around a pre-existing structure, such as a blood vessel or a duct, it can be called a pseudo rosette. All these lesions are aggressive, as mentioned earlier, present in infancy and childhood. Supratentorial, a common location, cerebrum, and it is a virulent neoplasm that is resistant to surgical and adjuvant therapy. This is an important point to ponder. Even in the examination recently in my college, such a question was asked. So the tumors are resistant, very aggressive treatment cannot be given. So you will have to focus the entire and the exact location of the tumor so that you can give a specific treatment for that. The survival period is otherwise less than 1 year. Sometimes you find features of multiple tumors can be there, such as ependymoblastoma, neuroblastoma, and the cells can be arranged in multiple rosettes called as a homorate rosettes. Look at this particular picture. I'm finding two zones. One is a cellular zone, another is a relatively acellular zone. In this, there will be a fine fibrillary background indicative of neural origin. Also, I find that there are multiple small spaces around which the tumor cells are being arranged. So this is it. So I find that there is a fibrillary material that is going into the rosette, and the tumor cells are arranged not in a single layer but multiple layers. That is why it is called as multi-layered rosettes. So there are multi-layered rosettes, and the cells are somewhat blastemal, poorly differentiated, embryonal, whatever name you people can give. Two things that you will have to remember: broad hypocellular neuronal area and undifferentiated neuroblastic elements arranged in the form of homorite rosettes with multiple layers. Embryonal tumor with abundant neutrophil and true rosettes, that is what we had seen. Sometimes it can be similar to other lesions such as ependymoblastomal rosettes, and they are all genetically similar tumors. The problem is the origin is more or less similar and there will be a lot of overlap. Hence, a typical histological diagnosis will be difficult. Hence, we have to rely on the molecular method of diagnosis. Medulloblastoma, ependymoblastom, and ETA, NTR. Embryonal tumor with multi-layered rosettes. So there will be abundant neutrophil, and these are all true rosettes, and these are all the lesions where you people can find them. This slide I have put up incidentally and intentionally. I find that there is a tumor, there is a papillary structure, there is a blood vessel, and one or hardly two layers of cells are there which are appearing very bland. There is a definite pattern over here which is reproduced everywhere. I hope you people can make a diagnosis because this was one of the examination slides in a center recently. Ependymoma. And all these tumors, the neuroblastoma, ganglioneuroblastoma, medulloepithelioma, and ependymoblastoma are all supposed to be similar, and they come under the group called as primitive neuroectodermal tumors. And these tumors are all now grouped under ATRT and ETMR. Epithelial embryonal tumor with multilayered rosettes and ATRT. They are all high-grade gliomas, come under grade 4. Why? I will tell you. And what are we supposed to look for? The embryonal tumor with multilayered rosettes, it can be positive for INI1 and LIN28A and C19MC locus, the FISH technique. Please remember this particular one. A lot of panels will be given. It will be ideal if your students could remember just a couple for each of the tumors later on until you are renowned pathologist. Ependymmoblastoma. Look at this again. Compared with the ependymoma that I had shown you earlier, there is a rosette over here, but these cells are all obviously very differentiated. Also, they are crowding. They are crowded around each other. There is multi-layering that can be seen. And there is also, I find that there is a sparsity of cells in these regions. Sometimes we tend to call them as a pattern of survival. Around the blood vessels in a particular region, I find that there will be the survival. Elsewhere, there can be areas of necrosis. The medulloepithelioma. This is again an aggressive tumor found in children less than 5 years of age. Usually it is found around the ventricular spaces, paraventricular in location. And the other sites, as I had mentioned earlier, it can be around the ventricle or in the region of the corpus callosum, cerebellum, and the spine. Here I am finding a large tumor, and obviously you find that there will be a compression preventing the drainage of the cerebrospinal fluid. And I mentioned it as refer Ackerman. It will be running to pages. What we can describe is it is a well circumscribed lesion which can be small or massive. There will be areas of necrosis. Earlier I had shown you a point of necrosis. Now there will be areas of necrosis. It arises from the primitive neural tube, and hence there will be a neural epithelium that can be seen. And mitosis also can be identified. There were a few tumors which are clubbed together because they are all of stem cell origin. Astrocytic, neuronal, ependymal are all modes of differentiation. Hence you get different tumors. But they are all of a stem cell origin. Highly malignant, the survival rate is for a period of less than 2 years. And the differential diagnosis is a choroid plexus carcinoma or an embryonal tumor with multiple rosettes or multi-layered rosettes. These are the markers that are there. Kindly go through them. Look at this one. If I were to see it in ovary or the testis, I will think of a primitive neuroepithelium and give a diagnosis of an immature teratoma. And that is how it exactly looks. I'm not able to identify the exact structure, but then they have got a vague resemblance to the primitive neural tube or the epithelium, which is Vimentin positive. An important point of clinical significance is dictyoma, or the ciliary body medulloepithelioma. The patient comes with immense ocular pressure and blindness. Because of the compression of the optic nerve, there can be a loss of vision, there can be a cataract, there can be a glaucoma. So it comes more in as an ophthalmological emergency. The tumor is grayish yellow, solid or cystic, and embryonal sensory retinal cells are being affected by it. Medulloepithelioma. Two locations I have shown you, one in the region of the optic nerve, two in the region of the cerebrum. Another tumor is pineoblastoma. The pineal gland is over here, and there are a few tumors which are of importance to us. Here I find that the tumor is quite well circumscribed, but obviously the location is not very enjoyable. The patient will be having immense amount of pressure. Even if it is small, it will be preventing the drainage of the cerebrospinal fluid and hence increased pressure. The location is in the region of the pineal gland, well demarcated. That is one advantage over here. It is well demarcated from the surrounding parenchyma. Look at this one. It is somewhat strange. So there is a garment that this child is wearing, and then there is a curtain somewhere over here. And then it was found that both of them coincided a lot. So look at this design over here and this. And it is a case when truth is stranger than fiction. What am I trying to tell you people? I want your description. This can be a slide for you, and definitely you people should be able to diagnose. Look at this one. It is not as aggressive as the previous tumors that we had seen. The cells are all having vesicular nuclei. There is no crowding or heaping up. They are all more or less uniform, and the nuclei are separated by a vacuolated and a eosinophilic cytoplasm. There are septae which are separating it. Supposing I tell you that this is from a 40-year-old male and testis, what is your diagnosis? Or if it is from ovary, a solid lesion, what is your diagnosis? So these could be included in the list of differential diagnosis. And my professor used to say, there are three tumors with similar histological features: the pineocytoma or the pineoloma, seminoma, and the dysgeminoma. Of course, these two are out for us, but this helps us to remember the pineocytoma. And in this class, we are supposed to deal only with the blastemal tumors or the embryonal tumors. Look at this one, the opposite. I find that there are all blastemal cells, immature cells, scanty cytoplasm, hyperchromatic nuclei. There are areas of necrosis, mitosis. So the points in favor of malignancy in a neurogenic tumor will be: 1. Necrosis, 2. Mitotic figures, 3. Vascular invasion, 4. There can be a cerebrospinal fluid invasion, CSF invasion, or 5. A spread into the adjoining parenchyma. These are all the features, and when it is histological, we will have to look for. Once it is necrosis, a professor has once taught me, go to grade 4 straight away. And here I am finding multiple rosettes. Multiple rosettes are the homocyte or the flexner intestinal rosettes. There are anaplastic cells with a high nuclear cytoplasmic ratio. This strangely, the pineoblastoma can occur in children of older age group. The markers are given over here. Kindly make a list of the markers so that you people remember. And pineoblastoma, you find just like the small cell carcinoma of the lung, there is a molding of the nuclei, there is an infiltration, no clear demarcation. CNS or spinal metastasis is common, and it is supposed to be poor if the mitotic rate is more than 7 in pi power 3. Areas of necrosis. This is another tumor called the pituitary blastoma. Pituitary, it has got a particular picture. You have got the chief cells and so on. So you find that they are all having a vesicular nuclei, abundant cytoplasm arranged in monolayers. It is a rare embryonal tumor of the pituitary, occurs in children less than 2 years. Cushing's syndrome can be a feature. Cushing's by itself is a question for us. And ophthalmoplegia. There are 3 different components which I will be showing you in the next slide. And DICER1 mutations be seen. Positive for synaptophysin. Look at this one, the pituitary blastoma, DICER1 syndrome. It is a triphasic tumor. I have shown you the 3 phases over here. In one, I am finding large secretory neuroendocrine cells. Large secretory neuroendocrine cells, which are having a vesicular nucleus, abundant cytoplasm. 2, there are small immature cells. Look at the cells, they are almost like lymphocytes over here, small immature cells. Third one, there is a glandular or a rosette-like structure that is seen. So there are 3 components which are over here. Please remember this one. It is reminiscent of something else which we shall be seeing. The pituitary blastoma, triphasic pituitary tumor, there are 3 cell types, large secretory neuroendocrine cells. And the 3 small immature cells, third one can be the gland or the rosette formation. And this is the source of the reference, thanks to that. This incidentally can be given. All of us know that this is craniopharyngioma. You find that for the cellular, you find that this is one of the common slides which are given to us. So I find that there will be a palisading cells, then there can be a stellate reticulum, which is almost analogous to an amyloblastoma. Amyloblastoma also has got this kind of a palisading arrangement, then the reticulum which is stellate. There can be areas of squamous metaplasia, so on and so forth. But why does a tumor of the jaw and pituitary have a similar appearance? It is because they all arise from the neuromesenchymal stem cell. It is away from the topic, but still I thought this will be of some importance to us. And there is a third tumor which will be having a similar one, adamantinoma of the tibia. Here again, I am finding similar cells, palisading arranged, a stellate reticulum, and there is a network of these tumor cells. And they say that this is because of the displacement of the fetal embryonic cells due to trauma. See how 3 different sites, similar morphology, we are able to get, and this is the reason. And we have come to the end of the class. I hope that we will be able to do it. First, enlist the tumors. Whatever comes to our mind, let us make a list of it. What are the common sites where you can get? So that I hope you people will be able to write. Cerebrum, cerebellum, around the aqueduct of Sylvius, spine, and so on. What are the common histological features? First and foremost will be blastemal cells, high cellularity, hyperchromatic nuclei, mitotic figures, molding of the nucleus. Then there can be areas of necrosis, rosette formation. You find that there are multi-layered rosettes which are present. Clinical presentation, loss of vision can be given, convulsions can be given, headache can be given, semi-comatose state, anything can be given. And the markers which people are supposed to recollect. And please compare these with the medulloblastoma. And we come to the end of a superb topic on the embryonal tumors in children within the cerebrum.